Jesus was put on the cross at 9 o'clock in the morning, and then at 3 o'clock he breathed his last. So why did he die in just 6 hours? Whereas by comparison, a Jewish historian from the period, Josephus, says that he himself, on one occasion, was coming back from a place called Tekoa. As he approached Jerusalem, he found that 3 of his friends were hanging on crosses. They were being crucified. And he used his influence to have them taken down and given medical attention. 2 of them died anyhow, but 1 of them survived. Which means that when he came back, and as he said, they were hanging on the crosses for 3 days. So 3 days later, the 3 were still alive, and 2 of them eventually succumbed to the suffering, but 1 of them nevertheless survived. So generally, it took a few days to kill a person by crucifixion. How did Jesus die in just a few hours? This spear thrust might have done it, but that is mentioned only in the last of the 4 Gospels, and scholars believe that John inserted that for his own apologetic purposes, for his own purposes of trying to prove to us that he finally died, and that this is not a truth in fact. So in that case, we are left with the puzzle, how did Jesus die? Mark's Gospel says that when Jesus apparently breathed his last, because he let out a loud cry and then he apparently breathed his last, everyone could see he is expired. One of his secret disciples, Joseph of Arimathea, went to Pilate, the Roman governor, to seek permission to have Jesus' body taken down and given a burial. And Pilate was amazed that Jesus died so soon. And then he asked the centurion, who was the head of 100 in the army, and the centurion confirmed that Jesus was dead. And then Pilate granted the request. That idea that Pilate was amazed now becomes a question in the mind of the reader. The reader might be saying, yeah, how did he die? Did he really die so soon? As Pilate is amazed, the reader becomes amazed as well. And Matthew and Luke omitted the mention that Pilate was amazed. Raymond Brown, in his magisterial work, The Death of the Messiah, in 2 volumes, says that Matthew and Luke omitted the mention that Pilate was amazed because they do not want their readers to ask the same question which readers of Mark's Gospel are asking. Because readers of Mark's Gospel are asking, yeah, how did he die? Did he really die so soon? Matthew and Luke just simply omit the mention of that, according to Raymond Brown. So in short, it seems that the earlier proclamation about Jesus was that he didn't die on the cross, and that he was assumed into heaven, translated into heaven. Which means that the stories which are mentioned in the Gospels are now suspect. The stories which say that he came out of his tomb, he met his disciples for a period of time, and then finally he was ascended into heaven. Muslims and Christians agree that Jesus ascended into heaven. But the question is when and how. When did he ascend into heaven? And in what condition? Was he alive or was he dead? Now, to move on, in fact, Muslim scholars themselves are not quite agreed on all of the details. Here's an English translation from Surah 4, starting with verse number 155. But just to give you the context, they also incurred divine displeasure when they did all of these things. And finally, they rejected faith, and they said in boast, we killed Christ Jesus, that is Al-Masih Isa ibn Maryam. They killed Christ, they're saying, we killed Christ Jesus, the son of Mary, the messenger of God. Obviously, they don't believe him to be the Messiah and the messenger of God, but they're saying this in scorn. You know, this one who claimed to be the Messiah, the messenger of God, we killed him. But they killed him not, nor crucified him, but so it was made to appear to them. And those who differ therein are full of doubts, with no certain knowledge, but only conjecture to follow, for of a surety they killed him not. You can see where the conclusion is. They killed him not. No, God raised him up unto himself, and Allah is exalted in power, wise. So, وَقَوْلِهِمْ إِنَّا قَتَلْنَا الْمَسِيحَ عِيسَى ابْنَ مَرْيَمَ رَسُولَ اللَّهِ وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ وَلَكِنْ شُبِّهَ لَهُمْ وَإِنَّ الَّذِينَ اخْتَلَفُوا فِيهِ لَفِي شَكٍّ مِّنْهُ. مَا لَهُمْ بِهِ مِنْ عِلْمٍ إِلَّا اتِّبَاعَ الظَّنِّ. They are only following a conjecture. وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ يَقِينًا. But they did not kill him for certain. بَلْ رَفَعَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَيْهِ. But God raised him to himself. وَكَانَ اللَّهُ عَزِيزًا حَكِيمًا. So that's the Quranic text. What does it mean to say مَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ? This seems to refer to two separate actions. They killed him not, nor did they crucify him. But of course there is some overlap, because if they didn't, you see, killing and crucifying are two terms which have some overlapping meaning. Because if a person is crucified, then he's killed, but in a specific way. There's an overlap in the meaning. Sometimes words have this kind of overlapping meaning, but when they're used in juxtaposition with each other, they have a more specific meaning. The intersecting part of the meaning is now cancelled because each has its own meaning complementing the other. The two terms, qatl and salb, are used in a similar juxtaposition in Surah Al-Ma'idah in ayah number 33. Look it up sometime. Surah Al-Ma'idah, ayah number 33. There it talks about the penalty for the muharibin. What is their penalty? أَن يُقَتَّلُوا أَوْ يُصَلَّبُوا. That they should be killed or crucified. So what does crucified mean in that place? It means they should be killed in that specific way of crucifixion. So either they should be killed by some ordinary means, or they should be killed by the means of crucifixion. So here we have the denial of the two terms. مَا قَتَلُوهُ وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ. Which seems to mean, if we follow from the Jaza'ul Muharibin, is that they neither killed him by some ordinary means, مَا قَتَلُوهُ, they didn't kill him by some ordinary means, وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ, they did not kill him by the specific means of crucifixion. The obvious goal of crucifixion is that they should have him dead. The word crucify could have two basic meanings. I'd like you to think of the two meanings. Remember we said that Mark has it that Jesus was crucified by 9 o'clock in the morning, and then he died by 3 in the afternoon. So when we say he was crucified by 9 in the morning, that means simply that he was hung on the cross, right? That's one meaning. Just simply hung on the cross. So Muslim scholars were very familiar with that meaning, and that's the meaning that they took. Hung on the cross. So when they talked about the one who was actually crucified, they thought of him being killed by stoning. Rajamuhu. They first killed him by stoning, then they put him on the cross. Then they crucified him. So they're thinking crucified means you just simply hang the person on the cross. Whether you hang him alive or dead, whether you hang him till he dies or you hang him for a moment, crucified means you hang him on a cross. So ma salabuhu means they didn't even put him on a cross. This is what the classical commentators on the Quran generally understood. But crucifixion has another meaning as well. It means to kill a person by the specific means of hanging him on a cross. Think of the Jews who opposed Jesus and wanted him dead. Think of them in front of the court of Pilate saying, "Crucify him! Crucify him!" Now, which meaning do they have in mind? The first meaning, just hang him on a cross? Or the second meaning, hang him on a cross until he dies from that? Obviously the second one, right? So when they are saying, "Inna qatalna al-Masih ibn Maryam Rasulullah," what meaning do they have in mind? The second one. We hung him on the cross until he died. But the answer to that is, "Ma qatalu wa ma salabu." They didn't quite crucify him in that they didn't see the job to the end. They didn't quite finish what they expected or what they wanted. They didn't fulfill the goal of crucifixion, which was to have the man dead. Notice the wording of the Quran. Ma qatalu. In response to their claim, "Inna qatalna al-Masih ibn Maryam." They're saying, we killed Jesus, the son of Mary, and the response is ma qataluhu. And the Quran responds to that sort of objection which might arise in the mind of the reader as one goes. So if the Quran is responding to them, they say we killed him, and the Quran is saying no you didn't. So they might be thinking, wait, we crucified him. And now the Quran is responding to that